Let's get to it, Rob. UFC 229, Khabib versus McGregor goes down this Saturday night in Las Vegas, Nevada, the United States of America. Brendan Dorman, unfortunately, isn't with us, as we said at the top of the show, to break this down. But me and Rob, we're going to go this a little different. Rather than being accused of being biased because we're Irish, we're going to look at how each fighter can win this fight, Rob.
Okay.
So let's start first, I suppose, with the champion, Khabib Nurmagomedov. Nurmagomedov. How did I butcher Khabib's name? That was terrible. How does Khabib win this fight?
I thought Dan Hardy done a really, really good breakdown of this. Have you watched his Inside the Octagon?
Very busy man.
Haven't watched it, Harry. I'll do a synopsis of it.
I will. This will be my watching on bus rides home all week. Now I'll start to watch all that stuff.
I thought he done a really good job of looking at both sides and looking where each guy could win. And you do have to think that for Khabib to win, he needs takedowns. You have to think that. I don't think it's
takedowns win fights.
Yeah, I don't think it's a case where like it's striker versus grappler only. I don't really see that. Like, I think it's a superior grappler versus a superior striker. But I still do think that Khabib needs takedowns to win the fight. Conor is traditionally pretty good at not being taken down in most fights. The Chad Mendes fight, he was taken down. And he has been taken down in a few other fights.
Tends to pop straight back.
But he does tend to pop straight up. But I think it's going to be pressure, pace, takedowns for Khabib to win the fight. If you look at, say, the Nate Diaz fight, even the second Nate Diaz fight, but in particular the first one, that Conor had. I thought he'd done some really good stuff in the second one, and I think that Nate is a difficult fight for Conor, stylistically anyway. And not that Nate and Khabib have a similar style, but they do excel in certain situations, in certain areas. I think their pressure is similar, as in Nate won't come forward and look for takedowns like that, but he's always coming forward at you. I think Conor had a problem with that. And I think as well, Khabib seems like he has a great chin. He's been hit a few times. We haven't really seen him get hit clean. Like, if you watch the Michael Johnson one, this has always been brought up. Even Dan Hardy brought it up, which I was a bit surprised. But like, if you actually slow that down, that footage down, them shots barely actually hit Khabib. Most of them hit him on like the shoulders and the arms. I think there was like one shot that hit him a little bit, and it didn't do anything. You know, it barely even wobbled him. He was a bit off balance. That's it. But I think that if you have a situation where Conor needs to take a rest, because it seems like Conor in the mid rounds, and he even admitted it himself, that he kind of slows down a little bit. And if you have Khabib on top of you during that time, I think that's going to be a huge problem for Conor. Like, huge problem for Conor.
So, bell goes, right? All the dancing and all is done. Bell goes, fight starts. What do you see here? Do you see Khabib rushing in to close the distance to get a takedown? What way? Just because Khabib isn't your, like, he doesn't shoot from way out. Do you know what I mean? He doesn't do a big power double straight off and change levels and get in. He tends to get close and gets takedowns that way. Yeah. Is that what you see again in this one?
I don't know, actually, because like coming in, you could have two things. Like, you can see two things. You can't really see Khabib striking on the outside. But also, if you look at the way Conor fights, he loves when guys come straight at him. So, like, his coach, Javier Mendez, will be saying, okay, we don't want to do a Jose Aldo and just run in and try to take him down straight away. That's, you could get countered that way. So I don't know if you're going to have Khabib just running straight at him, even though that's what Khabib does. Like,
do you think Khabib will have been looking at you brought up already, Chad Mendes fight? Do you think he's going to look at the Chad Mendes and go, how did he get Conor down? What did he do? How did he initiate the takedown?
Probably, although that was a long time ago. And Conor's game plan, and that was really, really weird, wasn't it? Conor was coming forward.
Very short notice.
It was very short notice. He had an injury, and I know Mendes didn't have a full camp either, so he slowed down as well. But like, it was almost like Conor knew he had an injury and had to get him out really quickly, because he came forward almost like Khabib, but like not in the same way. Like, he came forward striking, but like his hands were down. He was just trying to land shots, trying to put everything, almost like the Diaz fight, the first Diaz fight as well, whereas he came forward and was just trying to take out Nate Diaz really, really early. And you could see Conor was gassing. If he didn't finish that fight in the second round, I think, not that Mendes would have won because he was gassed as well, but I think it would have been a very different looking fight.
One thing that I always like about watching Khabib fight is he's the type of fighter that he changes takedowns.
Yes.
He doesn't just go for the takedown, lose, and then he'll go for it when he's changed to a single. He'll lose it. He resets. He sort of does this little jog, and he comes back in, and he doesn't seem to get discouraged by not getting the takedown first
No.
time. That doesn't affect him. But in this one, if he tries to get Conor, how important is it for Conor McGregor to stop that first takedown? And if he stops it, what's Khabib's mindset?
Khabib's not getting discouraged, I don't think. Because he misses a lot of takedowns. If you actually look at his takedown rate, I don't know what it actually is. I don't think it's great, is it?
UFC have me here. He only has a 45% success. So he's gone for 109 takedowns and has got 49 of them. And bear in mind, there was 21 of them takedowns in one fight.
Yeah, that's interesting. What fight was that?
That was against, you're absolutely throwing me now.
Was that Trujillo?
No, it was Harsher. Was it Harsher he got him
Harsher,
down?
Jesus Christ.
21 times he took him down. Was that fight?
But yeah, I don't think it's not going to discourage Khabib if he doesn't get a takedown early straight away. But it's just weird because, like, I clearly think this, and I said it to Brendan. Brendan actually agreed with me on this as well. Is that I don't think Khabib has fought somebody with the hands of McGregor. Well, to be fair, nobody really now has hands like McGregor. So, like, if you look at the way he knocks out...
What do you mean by have hands like McGregor? You mean the dead touch or just striking?
Just the accuracy and, I suppose, the power as well, the timing. Because, like, that Jose Aldo one, like, you can look at it in hindsight now, but nobody was picking Conor McGregor to knock out Jose Aldo going backwards, you know? Yeah. And that was kind of... That fight as well was a bit weird because Jose Aldo doesn't really do that. He doesn't really jump forward with a strike. I think that was a little bit of McGregor being in his head. And I don't really expect Khabib to do that, but Khabib does do that. You know, that's the weird one. Like, you kind of say, you know, Khabib kind of runs forward, hands down sometimes. Although when he's striking, usually his hands are up high, but when he's looking for takedowns, his hands do come down. Obviously, he's trying to get takedowns, and that's where you see McGregor trying to land a shot. But, you know, logically, you think he's not going to do that. But that's the way he fights. So is he going to change that?
Couple of points. Number one, do you think a lot of people have fallen under the thing? Remember Joe Rogan's like, he looks amateurish. Striking and stuff. Yeah. You think people have got that? And here's a weird stat. I don't think a lot of people notice. 70%. This again, according to UFC.com. 70% percentage total of strikes avoided. Khabib Nurmagomedov.
Yeah, he doesn't get hit very often.
In comparison to Conor McGregor, his avoidance of strikes is 57%. Now, granted, Conor stands and trades a lot more than Khabib would. But is that a surprising stat? Is that something that you brought it up in some ways that the shots with Johnson didn't land? So are people discrediting his striking defense as in not getting hit? Yes, it mightn't be a lovely Mayweather roll or hide behind, but his stats say he doesn't get hit. But as you said, is that just because he hasn't fought someone with the striking of Conor McGregor?
I don't think he has. I don't think he's fought anybody who can really strike going backwards. And Brendan done a great breakdown. I think it was like a year ago on Conor, the way he strikes going backwards, the way, and again in Dan Hardy's one this week, you need to watch that because he goes into how he caught Eddie Alvarez and his use of range in that was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, that's the best version of Conor McGregor we've ever seen. Yeah,
the way he showed it was the way he almost faked out his range. So he threw like I think it was a left hand while out of range, and then threw with like a sloppy little jab. But then in the next combination, he just shifts himself a little bit forward with his feet, and then he gains like 12 inches of range or 10 inches of range. So stuff like that. But I don't think that Khabib has fought anybody who has the ability to drop back and land a shot as Khabib comes in. I don't think he's really fought that many guys like that. You know, most of the guys, the really good strikers he's fought, and plenty of people have brought this up, like the Edson Barboza, who's can't really strike going backwards because his best shots are kicks, you know. And that pressure gave him fits. But then I also think, as I said, if Conor can't land that, and even if he does land that great shot, like Khabib hasn't shown a bad chin, he's shown a really, really good chin. So even if Conor does land that shot and Khabib keeps coming forward, you can't see a Nate Diaz looking fight.
That's the big thing about this fight, isn't it? It's how does Conor react to the takedown, but it's also how does Khabib act if he gets hit.
Yeah,
I think that, and we'll find that out on Saturday. No, we'll find that out, I think, pretty early in the fight. If Khabib manages, as he does to all his opponents, and somebody said to me, he gets them down, but he doesn't do much with them. And you're there going, you mean he beats the shit out of them for like 25 or 15 minutes?
Yeah.
So that's one strong point that Khabib has here. And do you think that's going to be his game plan? As in, a lot of people think if Conor McGregor's going to win, it's going to be by knockout in that line. But with Khabib, they think he's going to drag him into the deep waters and absolutely drown him there. And he could potentially go 25 minutes. A lot of people think that Conor will quit. under the pressure that Khabib gets him. Is that the path to victory here for Khabib Nurmagomedov, to get it to the ground, do what he does best, and basically knock the will out of Conor McGregor?
Here's an interesting thing I was thinking about. When's the last time you've seen somebody fight Conor and impose their game plan on him?
I suppose in some ways it's Nate Diaz. Like
Which one? The second fight? First fight?
In some ways, both of them. I just think the second one, McGregor dealt with it better.
Yeah.
McGregor knew, I can beat the shit out of you with every shot. You're going to keep coming towards me. And he sort of brought that into his brawl.
Yeah, but even
at the same time, that's sort of a fight that Conor wanted. So
yeah,
it's not like
the second fight, I thought he made some great adjustments. And again, back to the inside the octagon with Dan Hardy.
His leg kicks were huge in the second
fight.
Yeah,
and the way he was stepping into range and not overextending on his left hand was beautiful. I think that was more of Conor's game plan. I thought that Diaz came in with the exact same game plan, but Conor fought to that. But I can't remember the last time somebody came in and really put a game plan on Conor where Conor had to try figure it out mid-fight. You know what I mean? Mayweather. But like that's different. So I think like what's fascinating about this is that Khabib, we know what Khabib wants to do in every fight. We just know what it is, and we know what Conor wants to do. And at this level, like with these fighters who are incredibly talented and just unusually good at MMA, they can come in and do what they want to do, even though the other guy knows what they want to do. They find a way to implement a game plan.
What do you think of the argument that Khabib hasn't fought anybody?
I get it, and it is true. Like Conor's fought the better guys. I think that's indisputable. But I do think that if you look at, say, top 6 in the lightweight division, I don't think there's much difference between those 6 guys, really, like in terms of skill and talent. Just because, some journalist from ABC.com, that's actually a real thing.
Someone's going to shit all over ABC.
XYZ.com.
That has to be
voted that Khabib is, or that somebody is 6, not 4.
Yeah.
I don't think that really makes a difference. I think the top 6 guys in there, top 7 guys, are probably all fairly closely talented.
In fairness, claiming his title, Khabib had about 17 different opponents and eventually settled on Ali Quinta. And Ali Quinta, he done something that I want to bring up now. We start talking about how Conor come in the fight. He done something where he sat low to sort of get ready for the takedown, to block the takedown. And Ali Quinta is a tough veteran of the game as well, tough fighter, and it was a hard fight for Khabib to take on short notice and win. He won it well, he dominated. But some of that I think falls away. Well, you can look at Michael Johnson. I've criticised Johnson in the past, but like you look at RDA, what he done to RDA, do you know what I mean? Like, so Conor has fought the better guys, I think, but you can only beat what's in front of you. And Khabib Nurmagomedov was fighting fucking Russians and got a lot of his records
as well. You'd have to imagine that back in the day when Khabib was coming up, a lot of people probably didn't want to fight him, because he's just a nightmare of a style. Whereas people saw Conor as a lot of people saw Conor as this overrated guy who's coming in with a mouth, who has a lot of popularity. I can go in there, I can wrestle him and beat him. So he had a lot more people asking for that fight.
Do you expect, because again, people shit on Conor's jiu-jitsu. Conor is a brown belt under John Kavanagh. John Kavanagh doesn't give out belts just because hey, you're with me, X-Men. He gives them out because they're earned, right? So a lot of people shit on his jiu-jitsu because Nate Diaz choked him out. But Conor was on the verge of TKO there. When we did see him grapple, we seen him grapple against Max Holloway with a blown fucking knee, and his grappling looked incredible. His grappling, there was a great, I can't remember who done it. Somebody done a great breakdown of Conor. I know Brendan done one, but I was watching it on like UFC as well, where they done his grappling against Eddie Alvarez. The little things he was doing, like the ankle pick up against the cage and stuff like that, so Eddie couldn't get the sweep and stuff. Do we think that Conor's ability to get back to his feet is going to be a big part in stopping Khabib here?
Yeah,
he's going to get taken down.
He's going to get taken, unless like something like the Jose Aldo fight happens, like that quick finish. He's going to get taken down, and then it's all about, can he get back to his feet, which I think he can, because Khabib, he'll get some takedowns, people get back to their feet, but as you said, it's that chaining of the wrestling, it's the aggression.
And he just resets and does his little jog and comes back up and goes back to work.
Exactly, So I do think he can get up, and as well, another thing that was brought up quite a bit when you're talking about Conor's grappling was the X-guard sweep against Nate Diaz as well, which is like high level. You're not going to see that. It's somebody who doesn't know what they're doing. But like, I don't really think that if it gets to the floor, you're going to see Conor trying to work off his back, trying to land something. He might try, if it gets in the guard, he might try elbows.
Like he did against
Mendes, which would be smart. But like, you can't see him like looking for triangles or anything like that. I think it's all about getting back to your feet. And it's just, I think the game plan would be just fascinating. What's the game plan on both sides?
So that's what we think of. Khabib's going to get it done by getting into the ground, dragging Conor into the deep waters, making him uncomfortable, making hell for him, and getting the finish.
And then even on the feet as well, because once Conor gets tired, you seen it against Nate Diaz.
Yeah,
he got tired and he was moving away. And Khabib has some good shots. He does have some good shots.
Is that what we think it is? Going to be high pressure for Khabib to try and burn the energy tank. That's where he might see the weakness in Conor McGregor.
That's what I'd say. Yeah.
Okay, let's flip it. How does Conor McGregor win the fight?
I think it's in those little moments where Khabib is trying to get the takedowns, where he has an opportunity to land. And as we were saying, I don't think Khabib has fought somebody with the hands like that. So I'll be very interested to see if Conor can look at what Aloy Quinta done. Not the same thing, because you can't just stand there with your hands down and get jabbed. Yeah. And if Conor does that, and because Conor's like a great striker, he's still going to get jabbed out if he stands there with his hands down in front of him trying to stop takedowns. But he's never done that against anybody. He's fought some good wrestlers, not anybody to the level of Khabib, not even Chad Mendes. But I think it's going to be landing in those situations where Khabib is looking for the takedowns, and he can do it.
Yeah,
Khabib comes in and he throws shots with his chin is there. He hasn't been caught, and usually when he's on the outside, he's fairly defensively sound. But like, that shot is there. You can see
he's
him.
Open, yeah.
He's definitely open for a shot.
Yeah.
But as we said, his chin looks like it's solid.
I think slow is the wrong word, but he leaves openings that somebody as elite as Conor will exploit.
Yeah.
And like, I think what Conor holds more than any opponent that Khabib has fought previously is power in short range. Almost like Kill Bill, getting out of the coffin with a little punch.
Like 1-inch punch.
He only needs that brief moment when Khabib enters to look for a takedown. He only needs that like I said, an example is the Marcus Brimage uppercut. Like, if he catches Khabib with that,
those little ones,
they're the little shots, that short range. I think it's huge, especially I can see Conor doing. It's funny, I always refer to them as Travis Brown elbows, but I think
Conor done them first.
Yeah, I know. But if Khabib gets Conor up against the cage, I can see him coming down with these elbows. Looking at Conor as well, I know he has to cut weight, but he looks big in the arms.
Yeah.
Again, that could be for digging for underhooks to try and pull Khabib back up. As much as people question Conor's gas tank, and rightfully so, because there's evidence of it. You know, he fades in the middle rounds. But trying to get the takedown is exhausting as well. So if Conor is constantly fighting and getting underhooks and pulling Khabib back up and making Khabib work in the grapple and leaning on Khabib and letting him carry some of his mass as well, that can tire Khabib out. Grappling, it fills your arms. And I think Conor might be looking to exploit Khabib, get him tired, create them openings, and even extend that little window for them shots. Yes, it will tire Conor. But yeah, I 100% think that McGregor's going to be looking for short range, distance shots. Yeah. Like coming in, catching him coming in.
Yeah, that's the big
happy one. To step off. I don't think he'll put himself up against the cage. I think his footwork is what needed. His legs are going to have to be like eels. Yeah. As soon as Khabib gets a grip of him, get out of there. Not mess with that, but expect him every time that Khabib, if he does get a takedown, it's near locked, he's going to land nasty elbows and try slice Khabib open from either standing or from the bottom. It's vitally important as soon as he hits the mat that he doesn't let his back hit the canvas. He has to start shrimping and getting out of there straight away. I think he'll be doing that, rolling with the likes of Dylan Dennis, a legit black belt and BJJ champion. Kavanagh, they'll have been drilling it thoroughly. So I actually don't see, if you look at it as well, Peter Queally in the camp, Peter is like a grinding wrestler style as well. Again, not to the level of Khabib Nurmagomedov, but that's there. I think as well, footwork from the boxing could come into play, as silly as it sounds. You know what I mean? Like getting out of there, creating angles, not allowing it a straight setup for Khabib. But I really do think the way to win this fight for Conor is in them short ranges, is catching Khabib, and as you illustrated and alluded to earlier, his power going backwards. There's nobody else that does it.
Plus, it's the momentum of the guy coming in, you know. And again, it's all kind of hypotheticals in this one, which is brilliant for looking at a fight, and it's the reason why this fight is so intriguing, is because we can say that Khabib has these defensive deficiencies coming forward because he's looking for takedowns, but nobody's been able to exploit it. So it's all like, it's all saying, can Conor do this? We've seen Conor do it against other guys, but these other guys aren't Khabib. But then when you look back, and I still look back at that Aldo one and think that people now are saying, oh, well, you know, of course. But like, nobody was picking that kind of finish, and Aldo just does not come in like that. We still have a whole fight week for, you know, the mind games that happen.
That's a big part. What do we think? What do we think about that?
I don't know.
You see different. I actually was watching that press. It was quite funny. Going up in an elevator with 2 Dagestanis.
Yeah, I know, you're telling me that. Yeah,
but mind games it is because I think Khabib doesn't understand half of what he's saying.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, he definitely doesn't.
So it's just the aggression maybe of it.
Yeah,
but like, you know, your dad smells a shite. You know what I mean? Like, Khabib doesn't have a clue. What
he's like, what?
We think it's hilarious.
What is this?
But like,
yeah, I don't think it's going to get to Khabib. But
so.
if he can do, if Conor can do enough to get to Khabib to try want to punch him, that's a good thing. And I don't think Khabib will get to Conor. Some people are saying, "Oh, look, Conor's invested because he's being crazy." Conor does this all the time.
Remember him down in Brazil ripping.
Yeah, it's that illusion. He tries to give the other guy the illusion that he's absolutely insane and he's coming in to try to take his head off.
I honestly think both him and Khabib will be the 2 coolest people in the arena.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, they will be. It's. I don't think it's going to be a mental thing.
I
really
posed the question to you: if Khabib can't get the takedown, how does that affect him? If Conor lands a big left hand and Khabib keeps marching him forward, what does that change in McGregor's?
Do you know what? I don't think it changes a whole lot because I think McGregor would have learned a lot from the Nate Diaz fight. Like, I was very, very impressed with when he came back for that second one, because the first one, he landed a few shots on Nate and Nate wasn't moving. Just wasn't moving, and he just continued to try land the shots. Second fight, if you go back, he dropped him, 3 times? 2 or 3 times? 2 at least. I remember the 2.
It was 3 times, I think.
3 times. Yeah. And he was fine. He was grand, you know. And there was still those moments, and that's the big problem, where he got tired. But it wasn't the same fight where by the end of the first round, McGregor was breathing heavily on his stool. He was more calculated, and I think he learned a lot from that one.
I know what you were saying with the and because I asked the question about if he hits me, he doesn't. But I think the actual other fight that gives a better example of that is Eddie Alvarez. He put Eddie Alvarez down a few times and just let him get back. He went down to follow up the ground. No, it's not done. Okay, back up you go.
Exactly, yeah.
And
I think he learned a lot. That's one thing as well. I think both guys, but then just like if you're talking about McGregor and how he'd win, I think people are, I don't say underrate his intelligence in the fight game, because I think a lot of people give him a lot of credit for that. But like, if you go back and you watch the adjustments he made in the Nate Diaz fight, or even his comments after the Aldo fight and stuff, the way he was talking about like time and beats power and all this, and everyone said, this guy is a thinker. Like, he's not this brawler, he's a real thinker. And I think if you look at the way he's developed his style, it's actually quite unique, because what does he do? Like, when he's striking, he's coming forward with his left hand. If you're like a southpaw, what do you generally want your opponent to do? To move towards your left hand. And the guys, he constantly allows them to move the opposite way. And we spoke about this before, where he overextends on that left and lands it. It's almost like the deception of range. And he's developed that. That's something that he's developed. He wants guys to move to his right, which is completely unique for a southpaw. It's not something that you see a lot. How many times have we seen big punchers, like say Roy Nelson, who was at one point, it was a top heavyweight, but how many times have you seen him chasing guys around trying to land his big right? How many times have you seen that? He couldn't develop that game. With like, there was a problem that had to be solved for McGregor, is that everybody knows I have this insane left hand. They're going to move to my right. That's going to happen. How do I fix that? How do I make that work? And then same with Khabib. They know I'm going to go for takedowns. I need takedowns to win fights. I need to pressure guys. How do I make that work? And they both made their styles work. So I'm very interested to see how they make their style work against this guy.
Do you know what my madness is about this fight? And this is mad to say this from either side, but I genuinely think either one of these guys can make the other look like they shouldn't be in the same cage as them.
I agree. Yeah.
Like, Khabib can absolutely destroy Conor McGregor with wrestling. It could happen, and that's not underestimating or putting Conor's grappling down, or it's not shitting on McGregor.
Khabib is just that good.
It's just Khabib is that fucking good at it.
You look at the way he mauls people.
Yeah,
he
and
absolutely
then
mauls people.
Turn of the coin, McGregor could absolutely destroy Khabib, pick him apart, drop him, and finish him with ground and pound. Yeah. And people be going, holy shit. And that's not the shit on Khabib's defense. But I honestly think we could be talking about either scenario on Monday next week.
Yeah.
Tuesday airs. But I honestly do. And that's what, for me, is like what's so intriguing about this fight is the difference in styles.
Yeah.
The difference in how both fighters approach their mentality going into a fight, how they build a fight, how they approach the fights. Everything is, they're polar opposites of each other, but yet they're going to stand across from each other on Saturday night. And I just think either could happen. But Rob, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Yeah. Pick.
What happens?
I said this all the way leading up, and I haven't changed my pick. I'm picking Khabib. I think Khabib wins the fight. The more and more fight week goes on,
tricolour is not going in your coffin.
Yeah, the more and more the fight week goes on, and it could be because like I'm surrounded by everyone who's saying, "Oh, Conor's going to win."
Yeah.
Because in Ireland, that's what people are going to say, and for obvious reasons, like especially casual fans. So I feel myself leaning towards Conor, and that's probably why. It's probably because of that, and it's also because of the breakdown that Dan Hardy done. I've seen a lot of very smart people who cover the sport pick Conor now, and a lot of fighters like Uriah Faber come out pick Conor. A lot of good people. But I just can't get past those little moments when Nate Diaz had Conor running backwards, and I think if that gets to that situation, which it might not get to that situation, but if it gets there.
What about the layoff he had?
Conor's layoff?
Yeah, that's going to be good for his body, though.
Good for his body,
not
yeah.
getting tired.
Yeah, and he admitted as well that that's a problem. So if you come out on live television, I'm pretty sure he said it at the press conference for May Mac.
Yeah.
He said it at the Diaz fight, didn't he? Come out and said it a couple of times and said, I clearly have a problem with my cardio at certain points. It seems like I slow down, then I get my second wind.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he's trying to address that. But can he address it enough to deal with somebody who has that constant pressure? I don't think so, but I could be completely wrong. It's to me, it's a coin flip. And also, Conor's a big underdog. And like in terms of like a fight at this stake, I think he's like a 2-1 underdog or something like that. So it's probably worth putting some money on him. There's actually some really good underdogs on this card. But I just see that happen. I just see Khabib hasn't shown any weakness in his chin.
25 minutes?
No, I think it'll be like a finish by like strikes in the third round or something like that. Just like, I don't know if it's gonna be a mauling, but I think it'll be one of them ones where he'll just be able to land a few strikes for the fight to be stopped.
Before we came on here, I just watched the MacLife interview with Conor McGregor, and I said to you when it was ending, I said, you just don't doubt him, do you? Like the way he's speaking, you just don't doubt him. And like, I know I'm gonna get, oh, you're Irish and you're picking him. Like I said, when Khabib beat Barboza, I went best lightweight in the planet. Yeah. Said nobody beats him. And for me, it is, 100%. I'm 100%. I try and be as unbiased as I possibly can in this show. Yeah. But it's like me if I was on a football podcast. I'm going to talk about it as much as they're terrible. But I'm going to talk about Man United and whatever. Yeah. I'm a Manchester United fan. I'm a Conor McGregor fan. I like watching Conor McGregor fight. And I just think he's a special athlete.
I agree with that.
I really do. And I just think this is a fight that Conor has taken personal. I don't think that's going to affect him when he gets in there. Watch the interview after you've listened to this with Conor and Andrew McGatton if you haven't watched it already, and tell me you don't believe what he says. Yeah, I see Conor McGregor hurting Khabib in the first round, but finishing him in the second. All right. I can see him being his shot selection. I can see him getting taken down, but I can see him getting back up. And almost that moment where against Chad Mendes, he looked at him and was like,
yeah, this is it, yeah.
Now you're done. And I can see him hurting Khabib. I can see him mixing up his strikes, and I can see him hurting him, but getting him out of there in the second round. And TKO, referee pushing him off him. Conor McGregor.
I could see it. Did you ever see like those
but,
real special fighters?
I got to roll it back, Rob. I got to roll it back. I can also see what you say happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I think both sides are completely viable. Like, I could be sitting there on Saturday night after the fight ends and go, damn it. Like, I could see that happening. You know, it's like one of them where I could see that happening. And there is certain guys, and I think Khabib has it a little bit. Probably not quite just yet because he hasn't really done what Conor has done so far in his career. But there's those fighters who, when they say something, you believe it. And it's almost... They're almost like the protagonist in a movie. Like, you can't see them losing. Do you ever get that? Like, it's like they're the star of the show. You can't see them losing. And Conor has that a little bit.
Yeah, he does. And it's in fairness, I say Conor's a special athlete, and I think the same of Khabib. Yeah. Khabib is a special athlete. But I just think, every fight stands on his feet. That terrible old analogy. But it's true.
Yeah.
And I can see Conor hurting Khabib. I can see him taking advantage of them small openings. And I just think nobody hits like Conor McGregor in that weight class.
Yeah, I'll be very, very interested to see if Conor does land a shot, how Khabib reacts and how well he takes it. Because I think if Conor is to land a good shot, it's going to be, the shot where Khabib doesn't see it. So that could be the one that finishes him. But if he takes that type of shot well, I think Conor could be in trouble. But if he does wobble Khabib on something like that, because I think that's like a real possibility. Like I really do. I think it's a real possibility.
What a fight.
What a fight.
We got to look out. We got to run through because time is the essence here. So your co-main event, Tony Ferguson, Anthony Pettis. This is a real one of a question of what ifs, as in what if or what how is Tony Ferguson after tripping up over a wire, kicking a metal pole? How is he coming back into this fight?
It's a really interesting one. One thing I was thinking about coming into this one was that I hope for Tony Ferguson's sake and for his team's sake and his fans' sake that it's not Tony Ferguson coming back because this is an ideal time to come back, because it is. This is a perfect time for Tony Ferguson to come back. He's on the card with Khabib and Conor. He can call out the winner after his fight. Obviously, he's not going to know who the winner is, but he can call out whoever it's going to be. And he's back in the mix because you also have a few fights coming down the road with Poirier and Nate, if that's not going to be for 165, they're going to throw their hat into the ring as well. So I think it's a good time for him to come back, but I just hope for his sake he's not doing it because of that, and he's not fully recovered. I think this is, on both sides, I've said this a few times, that I think it's a fight that both of them will love, because Anthony Pettis wants somebody who will strike with him, and Tony Ferguson will, because he's crazy.
Isn't it a weird one? Because I remember me and you were talking on a live chat when I was doing one of the live chats, and everybody just thought Tony Ferguson's going to absolutely run through Anthony Pettis, and we were almost going, no, hold on,
wait for it.
Yeah, you gotta hold on. Like let's see here. Like he's fought when he lost to Dustin Poirier. Well, you look what Dustin Poirier is doing. Dustin Poirier is a legit contender, and probably a 165 potential champion. But like, for me, the big question is exactly what you said: is Tony Ferguson rushing back too quick? Tony Ferguson, his style of fighting, he gets caught. He gets brought into wars as well. He's on a fantastic win streak, 10-fight win streak. The last
aside from the polar and the
last time we seen him in real trouble was probably against Lando Venata that time, and that's he underestimated Lando Venata. Is he underestimated Anthony?
A very creative striker.
Anthony Showtime Pettis could be swinging with me here. I said it on the thing. I don't, and I'm not saying it because I don't think I'm overlooking Anthony Pettis, but I do just think Ferguson is the better fighter. He's so close to where he wants to be, and I just think there's no way he's going to lose it this close to. He knows the very next fight after him is McGregor Khabib. He wants either one of them, and Anthony Pettis, as much as he can. Great strike and won his last fight with a choke, triangle choke. Like he has the finishes, but he's win lose his last few fights. While I just think momentum is a big thing. But for me, it 100% comes down to how quick Ferguson's turn around. But I am going to pick Ferguson for the win.
Yeah, I'm picking Ferguson as well. But you also have to look back at, say, the Barbosa fight where Barbosa was chewing him up with body kicks. Anthony Pettis will absolutely love that prospect. Lando Venata, who's a creative striker like Pettis, who can land some good shots and wobble Tony Ferguson a few times. And Lando Venata, creative striker, but he hasn't really shown to be the finisher that Pettis is. So if Pettis gets Tony Ferguson a little bit of trouble, I think that could be a problem for Tony Ferguson. Again, a few fights ago we were talking about Anthony Pettis. Is he done? Is he done in this top 10? But he's on his way back. I think it's a great fight for Pettis. I'm picking Ferguson. But man, Pettis is a big underdog going into this, and I'll be putting some money on him. 100% putting some money on him. But yeah, official pick. I gotta go with Tony Ferguson.
Ovince Preux versus Dominick Reyes.
This is an interesting one. OSP is the gatekeeper of that division, I think, at this point. Probably unfortunately for him. Put up a good fight against John Jones. Dominick Reyes, a lot of people are talking about him coming into this as a real prospect, and I definitely see it. He's a really tall guy. I think he has a 3-inch reach disadvantage against OSP, even though he's a taller guy. But that's okay for him because he likes to actually fight on the inside. He does most of his best work on the inside. If you look at his last one, it was a beautiful little short uppercut counter, which was just brilliant. But he does still do some things, especially in that last one. I rewatched his fight with Jared Cannonier, and he does a few things where I think OSP can capitalise. Like he went for the single leg takedown, and his head was just there for a choke. And you know the way OSP loves his chokes, and his head was also there for elbows and shots, and that's what Cannonier went for. So I'm gonna go with OSP just on like veteran savviness.
Yeah.
But I could see him getting finished because Reyes is definitely a big prospect. I think he's 9-0 at this point, and I know a lot of people are talking about him, and I'm very interested to see how he can progress. And it would not surprise me if he won. And he's an underdog, so again, it could be. I think he's actually a big favorite, which is kind of interesting.
Reyes is?
Yeah. If you go check Paddy Power.
Like I find Ovince saying Preux, sometimes he just doesn't
show
up.
Yeah.
Sometimes he looks like somebody's woke him up and put him in the cage, and then other times he looks fucking great. So me, I'm on the weird one here. I'm thinking veteran here, but as we said, the whole gatekeeper thing, yeah.
OSP is 15-8, so he's like 2-1 basically, and Reyes is only 4-11, which I get. He's on a great streak at the moment, and he's knocked out some good guys, and they've been devastating knockouts. His hands are really, really good, but he still does a few things that I don't like, where he throws like kicks and doesn't disguise them behind hands. And that's something that I think OSP can capitalise on. Would not surprise me if he comes out here and he absolutely wrecks OSP, because, as you said, it doesn't really show up sometimes. But I don't know. I think just based on the odds as well, it's kind of saying I like the underdog here. I like OSP and the veteran. So I go OSP, but I'm not hugely confident. I'm not hugely confident in any of these fights.
Yeah, Derrick Lewis get back in there after his fight of the year contender against Francis Ngannou. He's back in there taking on Alexander Volkov. I think the Black Beast will want to entertain the fans here.
Yeah, I think so too, because that last one was it was a shit show.
Yeah,
I think you can say.
Shit show. But I think a big one here is how's it back?
Yeah,
it's a big thing with Derrick Lewis.
You always have that question going in, don't you? And Volkov hasn't been anything but impressive in his UFC career.
6-fight win streak as well. He's Volkov. This is a very hard. I think in some ways this is a harder fight than Francis Ngannou.
I think so in ways as well. Like, Volkov is very, very smart. He's a really, really crafty fighter. Beat Verdum in his last one, knocked him out. Beautiful finish. He definitely has some problems.
Verdum was on steroids.
Yeah, and Verdum was on steroids. Yeah, although he will dispute that.
No, he's on steroids.
I'm going to go with Volkov here. I think Volkov's a good pick here. I think Derrick Lewis, if Derrick Lewis can like land something and hits the floor and he can get his ground and pound going, get mount, because his mount is absolutely devastating. Yeah. He can do pretty well, but Volkov, he can fight well at range. I think that'll frustrate Lewis.
Big, yeah, that's my point here. He's like 6'7" or 8 or something.
Yeah.
He's like a fucking giraffe in the cage.
But he can also fight well in close as well. So I'm going to go with Volkov. For me, Volkov wins. But again, another one I'm not hugely confident. This is a really good card of, it could be surprises. But I'll go with Volkov in this one.
We're ramping through them. We're just going to do to the main card, open the main card, because Rob will be doing a live chat this week, I'm sure.
I hope so, yeah. Jason won't be on. Need to get another.
Maybe. There you go, folks. There's your invitation. Come on the show. Michelle Waterson takes on Felice Herrig. Open up the main card. What fighter said it? Some fighter shit on women's MMA there during the week.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, sorry, women, you just aren't exciting. Who was that?
I don't know.
I can't remember who that was. I have to find that out. Anyway.
I don't know why you whispered it.
Yeah, because I don't
want the people to hear you.
I don't want people to say that I'm saying women's fighting is shit, because it's not. But it's just weird. Yeah, so the Karate Hottie coming in here, one fight. She won her last fight out. Taking on Felice Herrig is always a tough opponent. Coming off a loss, though, but always a tough opponent.
For this one, again, for me, this is a pick'em of sorts. I don't like Michelle Waterson at this weight. I think she's too small. Felice Herrig cuts quite a bit of weight to make this weight. And she's a decent grappler, Felice Herrig. But I do think that Michelle Waterson is a better grappler. I also think she's a better striker when she's on game. But it could be the size. The problem could be the size here. Felice Herrig is big and athletic. But I'm going to go for Michelle Waterson. I don't know. I don't like her at this weight, but I'm going to pick Michelle Waterson. I think she's good at range. I think her striking is really, really good. Her grappling, you can see her off her back, she's pretty good as well. So even if Herrig gets takedowns, I can see Waterson have some kind of success with sweeps and with submission attempts. But the size, I think, is a problem for Michelle Waterson. She really is an atomweight, is it? Atomweight. So but I'm gonna go with Michelle Waterson to win.
And the weird thing is, size wise, 5'3" against 5'4", so it's not. But yeah, I agree. And it's weird, like. I was saying about Ovince saying Preux, sometimes he just doesn't turn up, and I sort of find that with Michelle Waterson a lot of the time when you're watching her. It's almost like she doesn't pull a trigger or something when she's fighting, and you're like, Come on.
Do it.
Plus, she was on the ESPN cover, wasn't she? To Sports Illustrated.
Yeah.
So that's the course.
It's the course, yeah.
Felice Herrig, I'm gonna pick as well in this one.
Isn't this one of these cards though that you could easily go 0-5 or 5-0?
Yeah, we could get them all right, and then we're not going because you picked different to some of them. But yeah, you could easily go 5-5, and you could go 0-5. So yeah, crazy.